Hello. Hopefully you can all hear me. If you're there and watching, do let us know on the chat if it's working. So if it's working, yeah, it looks like it is. Let's turn that off. Hi, welcome. Thanks for coming last week. If you've come again this week, we had loads of good questions in again. We've moved studio. We're in the front room now rather than the kitchen. The feedback last week was, we can hear you, bro. Thanks, Gavin. The feedback last week was that a lot of things were covered that were kind of aimed at intermediate players. So this is going to be the absolute basics. So for the first 10 minutes, it's going to be all about the hand rankings, because that really is the basics that will kind of carry you through all the different variants of poker. All of us normally play Hold'em, but there's loads of others, and we'll come to those in other videos. But I thought it would be best to cover the actual hand rankings for people who are completely never played, because for those of you who have played, we all had to start off at one point, and it's quite daunting not really knowing what's going on. And it normally comes down to, at a kind of further level, kind of betting and the rules around that. But we're going to cover today like the complete basics, which are the hand rankings. I think we all played home games where someone has this hand and thinks they've got a straight. Because they've got ace-2-3. I think the most basic thing to know in this game is that it's a 5-card game. You have to make the best hand out of the 5 cards available. So knowing the hand rankings is really important. You can't make straights or flushes with 3 cards, 4 cards. It's a 5-card game. You have to make the best 5-card hand available. And whatever variant of poker you're playing, that is always the case pretty much. In Hold'em, which is the main game that people play, your worst hand that you can make is a high card. A high card is a 5-card hand that contains a high card. This is basically any 5 cards that don't work together to make another hand that's better than a high hand. Here's a good example. So drop the screen here. Hope you can see this. Jack 9, 5, 3, 2 against this hand. Now, which one wins is the question. If you have never played before, you would not know. Is the ace low? Is the ace high? Is this a flush because I've got 3 clubs in this hand? Do I have anything here? It's all about knowing what you've got to start with in this game. So, which hand beats which? In this situation, the best hand is ace, queen, 9, 8, 3. That's a 5-card poker hand that is ace high, ace queen high. This hand here is called Jack high, and it runs from Jack 9, 5, 3, 2. More often than not, you won't be at showdown, i.e. to claim the pot with this kind of hand, because you won't have played to compete or go for anything. What's the top hand, Rupert wants to know? The top hand, Rupert, will come to that. So if you stay viewing, we're going to get to that one, and that is a royal flush. It's very important to know, even with the basis of the high hand, right? This hand is ace queen high. Let's pull out. Let's change this hand to this. Now, people who've played before will know which one beats which, but it's important to know ace high v ace high. Which one wins? The king plays in this hand, so you come down to the king. You go down the rankings of cards. The rankings of the cards run from ace down to 2. Ace, king, queen, jack, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. This is the best hand in this situation. It beats ace, queen, high. So those are your high hands. You can have a high hand with an ace, or with a king, or with a queen, or with a jack in the earlier example. What is the next best hand? It is a pair. Here's an example of a pair. King, king, 9, 6, 5. That is one pair of kings. Now, the pairs to decide who wins is again based by the rank of the cards. Okay, so the kings are higher than, for example, twos. Pair of kings beats a pair of twos. Again, don't forget, I think when I first started playing, I thought I might have a flush here because I've got 3 hearts. You don't. You need to make a 5-card hand, okay? Pair of kings beats a pair of twos. So don't forget, ace high, that's your best hand. Or a high card is like the worst of your hand, and then we're going up to a pair. Ruth wants to know I was wrong. I picked the wrong hand. Okay, not sure, Ruth, but we'll come to that. Oh, you picked the wrong hand for the demonstration. Okay. Right. So have you got the right one here, Rupert? Pair of kings beats a pair of twos. So we've got high card, then we've got a pair. What comes next after a pair in the hand rankings? Let's have a look. Pretty predictably, it is a 2 pair. 8s and 10s is an example of 2 pair. You can make 2 pairs using your Seahole cards, and 2 pairs work normally is quite a strong hand. Now, you're on the right masterclass then. Yes, Rupert is 3 of a kind. Yes, that's right. So 2 pair is the next best hand. Sometimes we get situations where we might have the same 2 pairs. So let's get some 8s out and some 10s. Just to show you. Stick with us, we'll find a 10 eventually. They might be the pre-made ones. Right. In this situation, it's sometimes confusing to know who wins. One player's got 8s and 10s, the other has 8s and 10s. The kicker is called a kicker plays. You're making a best 5-card hand. So 8s and 10s with a queen is the better of these 2 hands. This is 8s and 10s with a 4. Okay, and that can happen in various situations in poker where you're both playing the same 2 pair, and you have to use the 5th card to make the better hand or worse hand. Here's another situation which is the best hand. Kings are of a higher rank, so kings and 8s beats 10s and 8s. So the higher ranking cards are always important. This is why it's very important to select what cards you play. Playing aces and kings is going to stand you better than playing 10s. So we've got high card, 1 pair, 2 pair. Hopefully you're still with us. It's all making sense. What comes after that? And the hand rankings are all down to the odds, by the way. That's good to know, Joel. Presumably draws do happen, especially in Hold'em. Yes, they do, indeed. You can have split pots. I think that's what Gavin is saying. Let's show that, actually. Thanks, Gavin, who's viewing right now. You can have split pot scenarios. I think that's what Gavin means by a draw, where both players have the same hand. If you both got 8s and 10s, say with an ace, and both players have exactly the same hand, what happens is the dealer will split the pot. So whatever's being put in the middle, you'll split it between the 2 of you because you both have exactly the same hand. And this can happen more often than not. Right, the next best hand. Maxwell's learning a lot. That's good to know. Your next best hand is 3 of a kind. 3 of a kind is 3 cards of the same rank. It's harder to get than 2 pair, and that's why it is a better hand than 2 pair. But it's not as hard to get as the hands that will come around to next. So it's 3 cards of the same rank. These 2 can play as well in these situations. There can be a spot where you've both got 3 7s, and say on a community board there's 3 7s and 2 rag cards, and you've both got Queen 5, say, in your hand. You will split the pot. So that's where you have a draw situation. But yeah, three of a kind is where you've got three of the same and the other two don't match. If the other two match, that becomes a full house, which is one of the better hands we'll come to later. So that's high card, one pair, two pair, three of a kind. You'll notice at this point as well, the suits don't make any difference and they don't come into play. Suits only come into play with hands that come later, like flushes. Okay, our next best hand is called a straight. Sometimes people call it a run. This is where you've got 5 cards of the same rank. 5 cards running in rank order. So Jack, 10, 9, 8, 7 is an example. You can have other straights, Ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can have a straight Ace to 10, Ace, King, Queen, Jack, 10. You cannot have a straight crossing the ace. So for instance, let's try and display that. Okay, so often people think they might have a straight when they've got this situation. Where's a 2 when you need one? Right. Ace, King, Queen, Ace, 2, 3. It does run in order. Yeah, thank you, Rupert. Yeah, Queen, King, Ace, 2, 3. That's the exact example we've got here. They do run in order, but in poker, the ace is either high or it's low. It's one or the other. It can't be both high and low. So this is not a straight. You don't have a hand here. This hand, Prize who gets it right, is ace high. This hand is actually a straight. So a straight, that is your next best hand after 3 of a kind. It is 5 cards running in order, in rank order. They do not have to have, the suits don't come into play. Our next hand is where the suits come into play. Really important bit of advice. Never forget, a flush beats a straight. So many people can forget it whilst they're playing for the first time. A flush beats a straight. It's the most common hand ranking dispute, normally in home games where people haven't played before. A flush beats a straight. We've just seen a straight, let's look at a flush. 5 cards, all the same suit, but note that they do not have to run in rank order. They're just 5 cards of the same suit. The suits, what are they? Spades, diamonds, clubs, and hearts. This is an example of the flush of spades. Now, sometimes you can have situations where both players have a flush, and you have to ask yourself which one wins, and if you all never played before, it's hard to know. This is called a 10 high flush. This hand is an ace high flush. So the flushes, if you've both got a flush, to decide who wins with the same flush, the rank of the card plays. Okay? So in this situation, this is a 10 high flush, this is an ace high flush, aces are higher than 10s, so this hand would win, the ace high flush. So high card, 1 pair, 2 pair, 3 of a kind, straight, flush. What comes after a flush? It's all down to the maths. It's all down to the probability of making the hand. It is called a full house, okay? It's a term you might have heard even if you haven't played before. A full house is 3 of the same rank and 2 of the same rank, okay? This example of this full house is 4s over 6s. So 3 4s and 2 6s is a full house, okay? This is not a full house. This is just 3 of a kind, for instance. You've got 3 of a kind, 3 4s. Let's have a look at another full house and see which ones wins, because you can have lots of different full houses. Here's one. Which one wins? Again, it comes down to the rank of the cards. 3 7s with 2 5s. is a better hand than 3 fours and 2 sixes, even though it's equally likely to get this hand and that hand. The rank of the cards comes into play. Okay, so 7s over 5s wins. Here is another full house, and another common problem with people playing at home with friends. Which one wins? Oh wait, it's a bad example. Wait, let's get some 3s into. Right. For those of you watching here play before, you might know where I'm going with this. This hand is 4s full of 6s. Gavin wants to know, what about King, King, 2, 2, 2? Exactly. Okay, yeah. So Gavin's on the right lines. 4s full of 6s against 3s full of 7s. The 4s full win. The 3 cards are the rank that play, okay? They're the ones that define whether your hand's going to beat another hand, okay? So yeah, Gavin, your example of King, King, 2, 2, 2 is correct. King, King, 2, 2, 2 would lose to both of these hands, okay? Right, after a full house. 4 of a kind. Very hard hand to attain, but when you've got it, you're invariably going to win. 4 of a kind is 4 cards of the same rank. It is a 5-card hand. This card probably will never come into play though when you've got 4 of a kind, because you will always have the same 4 of a kind as your opponent in Hold'em normally. So it's 4 cards of the same rank, very hard hand to get, but that's your next best hand. After 4 of a kind is a hand called a straight flush. So this, then it's in the name, is a straight and a flush. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. They run in the same rank order, and they're all the same suit. So straight flush is a very premium hand. It can also be very well disguised, because say you started with a 5 and a 3, and the board runs out like this. Anyone with 1 pair of kings is probably going to think they might be okay. Anyone with a different flush, for instance, a queen in the 8, they might think they're winning, but they're not, because this is just a queen high flush. This is a straight flush. You've made a hand that is a straight and a flush. Okay, so straight flush, that's our next best hand. Which is the best hand you can make in poker? It is called a royal flush, okay? So this is a royal flush. A royal flush runs ace down to 10. It must run ace to 10. It's the hardest hand to get in poker. So it's ace, king, queen, jack, 10, all in the same suit. It doesn't have to be diamonds. It can be spades, it can be clubs, it can be hearts. So those are your hand rankings. Have you ever seen one in your career? Gavin wants to know, have I seen, so Sergey, right, have I seen a royal flush? Yeah, it happens a fair amount of time. The probability is very low, but obviously having dealt a lot of poker and played a lot of poker, you see it occasionally. So yes is the answer, really. In terms of hand rankings, is the other thing to bear in mind, quite a good question, Gavin, is that the likelihood of hitting hands. So if you are playing poker, you need to be aware that you're not always going to make a royal flush. You're not going to always make a straight flush. 4 of a kind is a rare hand. And actually, sometimes making just 2 pair is enough. Sometimes making 3 of a kind is enough. Often it's the hands in the medium range that are going to still win you money. And very often, especially in cash games, you get people winning just with ace high or with 1 pair. So those really premium hands are really rare, and it's often actually, do they win when they bet on that? It's quite hard to win with a royal flush, because if the board is queen, jack, 10, all hearts, and you've got the ace, king of hearts, no one else has got a good flush because they haven't got the ace or the king in their hand. Anyone with a straight probably doesn't want to go to war with you because they're worried about a flush, let alone a royal flush. So it's quite hard to get paid. So it's quite hard to get someone to put more money in. Um, so sometimes these really good hands don't pay dividends. Poker is all about playing the other hands very well to make the most out of them. So yeah, I think what else could we cover that is going to be of use? Hand rankings. So we covered the hand rankings. I think next week we're going to be back again, same time, and we're going to cover the kind of procedures of poker and how to play. So if you're going to set up a home game, basically. So I think maybe we've had enough tonight. I'm going to hang around anyway for like 10 minutes more, if any more questions. So Catherine wants to know, which hand should you bet more on? You should be betting your best hands, Catherine. So if you think you're winning, it's good to put money in the middle, and hopefully people will call. What the hands you should be betting is really also determined by what you think the other player has. So when you're betting because you want a reaction. So you want someone to either fold if you're bluffing, you want someone to call if you've got the best hand, you might want someone to raise if you've got a really good hand. So you need to decide when you place a bet, what do you want that player to do? And that determines the size of your bet as well. The actual type of hand you should be betting on really comes down to what your opponent might have or is doing. And might think that you have. So that's where the game comes into the skill factor. Just recognising your hand alone, you don't just always, regardless, play two pair, and never stop playing it. And if you have a full house, there are spots where you could actually be losing, and you need to recognise if you are. Does every game play 3 in gambling, the middle, and 2 in the hand? So yeah, Rupert. Texas Hold'em is what's called a flop-based game. So I'll show you. This is your hand, Rupert. My hand. And there's a flop. So there's a board, a community board. So yes, this is a game where there are 2 in the hand, and there's also community cards. There are other games though, such as Stud, where you'd have your own board. So they're not, all the different variants aren't the same. There's also Draw, where you don't have a board, Rupert, so you wouldn't have a community board. There's just Draw, where you take 5 cards, I take 5 cards, and it's kind of game you play on the back of the school bus, and you want to draw to make your hand, you take 2. I want to draw to make my hand, I take 1, and there's no community cards. Ben, what are the better starting hands, and when should you pretty much always fold? So the best starting hands, let's run through those. Good question. And Gavin, I'll come to your question about folding before the flop. The best starting hands, you're always dealt 2 cards. Okay. Let's start, and the best is aces. So let's drop down again. This is your best starting hand, aces. Your other best starting hands are kings, queens, and jacks. These are the hands you should be playing. When should you be folding? You should always be folding hands that don't work together. Here's an example: queen and a 3. You can't make a straight with this hand, and you can't make a flush because they don't work together. You need 2 cards that work together. This isn't a bad hand. Both the cards work together. You might make a straight, you might make a flush. So this is what you call an average hand. And then also the lower pairs, they can work for you. When the community cards come down, you can make possibly a set of 4s if a 4 comes on the community on the flop. So these are all the kind of hands that can work for you. Gavin, how often should you be folding before the flop? You should be folding probably at least 50% of your hands, Gavin, because you can't possibly be dealt that many good hands, and you need to maintain an image to the other players that you're only playing hands that are worth playing. Are you too careful? Most people can be. You can be too careful, and that's fine. But eventually, if you want to be winning chips, you need to be a little bit aggressive and not careful, and start playing a wider range of hands. But that all comes down to where you're on the table, what the table's like, and we can come around to that in another session. But on the whole, you shouldn't be playing more than 50% of your hands at all. So yeah, Rupert, Texas stud draw. I'm going to create a nice document that I'm going to share with everyone to explain all the different variants of poker. You've got draw games, you've got flop games, you've got stud games, and I'll draw a nice little flow chart to explain that and share that around everyone. And then, yeah, Gavin, that's probably maybe too much, 60 to 70%, but it depends what kind of cards you get and who you're playing with. But yeah, so as I was saying, I'll create a flowchart on the different variants of poker and also the different betting rules, the different variants of betting, and that should really help people explain, because a lot of people assume that Texas Hold'em No Limit is the only poker that's out there. It's not. There's loads of other variants. Luckily, I've dealt them all, so I can share them all with you. And once we get our heads around Hold'em, we can start talking about all the other variants. I think we're going to leave it there, and we're going to be back again same time next week. If you have or haven't already, please do follow us at Burlington Games on Instagram or Facebook or on LinkedIn as well, and Twitter. I think. Sorry, Catherine, any suggestions on poker apps to practice on? Yeah, you can play for free online, but and so that is a great way to practice, to be honest. And you can. The only thing I'd say is that sometimes playing for free is a little bit different because people haven't got any money in front of them and they're not playing for money, so it becomes a little bit. It doesn't quite play out like an actual game of poker. So you could be better off, which is possible to do. You can create your own private rooms on, say, PokerStars or PPP Poker. I can send some links for those apps. You can create your own private room and play for like a set fee. You could play for $2 with your friends, so at least there's something there to play for. Sometimes if you're playing for free with like 1,000 people online, it's just complete madness and it doesn't really play out like real poker. Okay, so yeah, as I say, give us a follow. Any suggestions as well, keep them coming in, and any more questions. I think next week we'll move on to, we've covered the hand rankings this week. I might cover it again for some new viewers, and then we'll move on to like how to set up your home game. What do you need, and what the procedures and the rules are about playing a home game. Thanks a lot to everyone for watching. I hope everyone's doing well, and we'll catch up with you soon. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much again to everyone who keeps showing support for this. And yeah, we're going to be regular. It's always going to be 8:15 on a Thursday. COVID, no COVID. We're going to keep doing this. All right. Cheers, guys. All the best.